Hi Baglushes, welcome back. I'm really excited today to present to you the history of Louis Vuitton, where Louis Vuitton came from, how that brand came about, and how this legendary entrepreneur brought such a different bag to the market. Another thing that I didn't want to forget is we're going to do the giveaway for the Henri Bendel makeup bag as well. I have a bunch of names in here, and I'm actually going to pick a name out of the bag at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. So I just wanted to thank you all for sending me a list of suggestions for topics that we can cover in the future. A lot of you guys have mentioned you want reviews for Givenchy, more LV bags, more Chanel bags, as well as a TMI tag. You'd like to hear more about me. That's actually kind of cool. And so I'm happy to do that in the coming weeks. Also, one of the things that you guys had asked about was if I was selling some of my bags, and actually I am. It's kind of hard for me to figure out where to let people know this, but if you just want to shoot me an email at baglush@gmail.com, I'll add you to my mailing list, and anytime I have a new handbag or a used handbag that I'd like to get rid of or sell, I'll send out an email. I also have a lot of friends that sell their handbags, and so happy to send out an email to you guys and let you know what's available that week. So let's get started, and I just want to ask you to forgive me for looking down every once in a while. I have my computer right here, and the reason is because I have lots of notes on Louis Vuitton and his history, and I just think it would be really great for me not to forget any of them. So let's get into it. So Louis Vuitton is one of these iconic entrepreneurs, and the reason why I love talking about him is because he's got this like can-do attitude. So he was born in 1821, and Louis grew up in a small village in the mountains of France, about 300 miles away from Paris. And legend has it that his mother passed away when he was 10, and he had this wicked stepmother who he obviously didn't get along with. And so when he was 13, he ran away from home, and his dream was to go to Paris. It took him about 3 years to get to Paris, and he walked it all on foot, 300 miles, and worked a series of odd jobs along the way. So can you imagine that? This is the 1800s, you're 13 years old, and you run away from home on foot in Paris, you're kind of in the mountains where there's really nothing around, and there were no cell phones, no computers, no fax machines even, so really nothing around to kind of contact you. So I can't even imagine what his parents were thinking or what he was going through. But he ran away from home, and then apprenticed under this guy named Maréchal. His name was Monsieur Maréchal, and he was in Paris, and he was a trunk maker. And at that time it was a very respectful job, because what these guys would do was they would make trunks and big boxes to store luxury dresses and other types of goods that the elite wanted to store. They also used these trunks for traveling, so when there was traveling by steamboat and train, they would have these huge leather trunks that were like really, really big. Like I can't even show you because my hands don't fit in the screen, but they were really big and basically made out of wood and leather. And the top of the trunk was like a dome. It was like kind of like this. The cover was this shape. It was a semicircle shape. So it was really hard to stack boxes on top of each other or trunks on top of each other, but they looked gorgeous. So Monsieur Maréchal made these trunks, and Louis Vuitton basically apprenticed under him and made trunks for some of these great socialites and people like that. So he received his big break when Napoleon, who was the emperor at the time, his wife, I forget her name, I can't remember her name, but Napoleon's wife was the Empress of France, and she had asked Louis Vuitton, because she had heard so much about Louis Vuitton's craftsmanship, she had asked him to personally make her trunks and store her gorgeous dresses in those trunks. So Louis Vuitton did that, and after that he just received a ton of orders from all different types of people across Paris to make specialized trunks. So finally he reached a point where he thought he could go out on his own, and in 1854 he founded his own fashion house and started making goods for Paris's elite. And the first version of Louis Vuitton's trunk was, I believe it was striped, and it was beige and red stripes. And so this is not at all what you think it looks like today. And one of the things that he had concerns about was the leather of a trunk. Trunks were made out of leather, and so sometimes they would smell, and that smell would transfer onto the clothing that was packed within the trunk. So he came out with this gorgeous canvas fabric that was waterproof, odor-free, and very sturdy. And so that actually made the basis for the canvas what you see today. Then after a while he started to notice that the beige and red stripes were being copied a lot. So Louis Vuitton's counterfeit days have, like the counterfeiting of Louis Vuitton has gone back years, since the very beginning. So he came out with the signature damier pattern, and believe it or not, this pattern was invented because he wanted to combat counterfeiting. And so he added a part on here that was actually a note that basically said Louis Vuitton registered trademark in French. Soon that was copied too, and we'll get into what they did after, what Louis Vuitton's company did after that. So if you remember, I mentioned that the trunks, like imagine a rectangular trunk and the top has a dome-shaped lid. So when you try to stack another trunk on top of it, it can't. It'll kind of rock because it was dome-shaped. The biggest reason why people were interested in him was because he created a trunk that was flat on the top, so you can actually stack trunks on top of each other. Brilliant, right? And during the wars, so France went through a number of wars. There was a Civil War, World War I, World War II. During the wars, these trunks were in high demand because it was easy to stack and travel with these trunks. So Louis Vuitton started off with travel storage kind of luggage. And then the first kind of handheld luggage was called the Keepall, which is a large duffel-like looking bag. And then after that, I believe that was actually right after Louis Vuitton died. His son Georges took over and came up with the beautiful LV monogram quarterfoil look that you're familiar with. And I always feel like that look was like the first look, but actually that was one of the newer designs that the Louis Vuitton house had come up with. And again, that was to combat counterfeit goods. So over time, Louis Vuitton has done a lot to try and innovate and figure out how to combat these counterfeiters across the world. But let's face it, a brand like this will always be copied because it's such an iconic brand and everyone wants to, take a piece of what's going on there. So the first handbag, let's say, after the Keepall was the Noe, and that was actually a drawstring handbag, and that was actually made for carrying wine. So you see, his bags were always very functional, which is why I love this brand. This is an entrepreneur that came out with a fabric that was waterproof, durable, and functional. And so that's why these bags are so classic and last for so many years. So the brand survived multiple wars, as I said. They survived a civil war, both world wars, and is still with us here today. It's hard to imagine the world now without Louis Vuitton. The other thing that we're going to do today is the giveaway. And so I'm going to pull out a name from the bag, and I need a drum roll, please. I don't have anyone here, but I'm gonna play some drum roll. And let's pick out a name. This bag is going to Ruth Valencia. So congrats, Ruth. I'm gonna be sending this bag to you, and I'm excited. So thank you guys all for joining me this week. I will be coming in next week with a new handbag. I actually found a used Givenchy tote that I'm really excited to do a review about and get your opinions on. As always, don't forget to subscribe below and send me an email or leave a comment for what new reviews you'd like to hear about. Thank you so much. Have a happy, happy week. See you guys later. In 1854, Louis Vuitton founded his own fashion house or trunk making house. And I can't see straight because look at how big it is. I mean, it's like the size of my head.